Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Allie.
This is But Have You Tried from the David A. Howe Public Library.
Here we are again. It feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know why. So I guess we're like 2 days later than we would normally do, 2 or 3, whatever.
I guess that makes all the difference.
I can't think of anything else but your monarch butterfly sweater that you made, that you're wearing today, that I think you need to tell the good people. Oh, yeah, look at that wingspan.
I'm wearing a sweater. It is made to look like a monarch butterfly.
It's shaped like a monarch butterfly.
Shaped like a monarch butterfly. So the sleeves, they start thin and then they get wider, so it imitates the wing shape.
Yeah.
And I saw this pattern online around New Year's, and I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And this is going to be my next hyperfixation.
Yeah.
So I've been working on it, and I finished it last week, and I was so excited to wear it last Thursday. And then my husband came down with the norovirus, and I didn't come into work.
Nope.
So this is its debut.
Its debut, yeah. Because I feel like you've worked on it here. I think I've seen.
I think I have worked on it. I think maybe during.
I've seen an early stage of this sweater.
Yeah, I don't remember when, but I definitely.
I knew what you were doing. Into my head, I was like, "That's not going to look cool." And weirdly, it does look cool. So congratulations, both on the skill and for pulling it off.
I wasn't sure because I realized partway through that. The woman who designed the pattern, which props to her because this is an amazing pattern.
Yeah.
She crochets very loosely. And so the sizing is somewhat based on that.
Okay.
And I do not do very loose stitches because I'm I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to exert my control over every stitch.
Okay.
So I was trying really hard to do it loosely because it specifically said in the pattern, do it loosely.
Yeah.
So I was trying, but I was getting toward the end and I was like, I don't know, this is looking kind of small.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be okay, but it might just be really cropped.
Mm-hmm.
But then I steam blocked it and it's pretty much perfect.
You did it.
So.
You did it.
Shout out to Steam Block.
Yeah. Pretty exciting all around. Have you been has this been your whole crafting output for a while? You got any other projects on the back burner?
There's a couple things. I started one of those red hats that have been going around.
Yes.
Partly while I was waiting for yarn because I don't know, I had yarn supply issues a couple times with this. I did a Sophie scarf. Those have been kind of viral in knitting communities.
Okay.
I did mine a little late, but I still think it's fun and cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been most of my crafting focus has been this, and then just the things I've been doing while I'm waiting for more yarn to finish this.
Okay.
So
all right.
now I can actually think about other projects.
Yeah. Move on with your life.
Yeah.
I got a harmonica for Christmas.
Oh.
So I've been messing with that just a little bit, but I haven't really committed time to it.
I have a harmonica that I've had for years, and I always have thought it would be so cool to get good at it.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten good.
I can stumble my way through songs, but very sound. So you know what I mean? There's no finesse. It's just the right notes are happening, but it's a robot is doing it. So
I understand for sure.
Yeah. So that's been pretty much me. And then I've been in this play, so my evenings have been
you've been so busy
full.
with that.
Yeah, it's been very full. I'm this close to an emotional breakdown, but I'm hanging in there. And the play's almost over, so I'll have my life back again.
Have you ever seen the movie Women on the Verge of an Emotional Breakdown?
No.
It's a Spanish movie.
Great
but you
title.
Can get a translation of it.
Okay.
It's absurd, but I don't know.
Okay.
That just made me think of that.
Yeah, it happens.
Gazpacho is very prominent.
Okay. Okay.
I think you'd find it interesting.
All right. And somehow during all of this time, I managed to read Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy.
You sped through it. I was impressed.
I did go quicker than you, that's for sure. And now you say you finished in time because normally we would have recorded this on Thursday.
I showed you the screenshot of the completed audiobook.
Wednesday night.
I did.
Okay. All right.
I did.
All right.
I was so no shade to my husband for getting sick.
Right.
But I was so sad because it was I had finished Anna Karenina on time and I'd really been pushing towards the end. I finished the sweater and I was we're gonna talk about Anna Karenina. I'm gonna be wearing my sweater.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. And then I was there's definitely no way that I'm going to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
but
we're talking about Anna Karenina now, and I'm wearing my sweater. So
we are. Yeah.
The universe is back on track.
Everything's happening. It's all coming together.
But yeah, I definitely made the mistake because I was trying to finish Oathbringer, the third Stormlight Archive book by Brandon Sanderson.
Right.
Which is, I think longer than Anna Karenina actually.
Okay.
I think the audiobook time on that was more.
All right.
And I was pretty close to the end, but pretty close to the end still means a normal book's length away from the end. And I was double timing them, but I was I need to finish this. The audiobook is going back, and I'm so close and everything. And that was definitely a mistake, but I did finish in time, so it worked out okay. I listened to a lot of it while working on this cardigan.
Gotcha.
Just on my couch.
Okay.
Focusedly crocheting.
Okay.
Listening to Russian people do Russian things.
Were you 100% audiobook?
No, I did a little bit of ebook and a little bit of physical book.
Okay.
I was doing everything.
Okay.
I don't know.
Do you know? Actually, I did too, because I checked out the physical book here, and I did that sometimes. But then, it's particularly when I was like at play practice or something, in the scenes that I wasn't in, I was just sitting in the house like reading on my e-reader also. So yeah, physical book, ebook, and audiobook. Do you know what translator you were listening to?
I think mostly Constance Garnett.
Okay.
But definitely there was a few across the spread of what I was doing. And I didn't notice that much difference between the different ones that I'd been listening or reading.
So I found a site, and it was like, it had the first paragraph or the first page, I guess, of the book by, I don't know if it was all basically all major translators. Okay. And so I was kind of reading through each one. And the one that I found that I liked the best was Nathan Haskell Doyle, which is the first English translation of it, and it's one that's, I guess, not really well regarded. Like it sort of fell by the wayside in favor of ones that came, in the 10 years or so that followed. But there was something about it that I just kind of liked, and so I would say probably 75% of my experience was that. But I did the audiobook that I got. I was listening to a LibriVox one of the Dole translation, but it was hard that way. I just wanted it on Libby, and so I was listening to the Mod translation. And that was not a hard jump through there. I was able to kind of follow both. Some of the naming conventions were a little different, like what they were calling her brother was different.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed the pronunciation of the names between audiobooks was different. And I was like, well, now I have absolutely no confidence about how any of these names are pronounced.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but I didn't find it too jarring to switch between the two. But again, the Dole translation was what I was like probably 90% on. And I mean, what did you think? Before we got some facts and everything, but I want to know just your baseline. How did you feel about this book?
Baseline impressions of Anna Karenina.
Yeah.
Man, it feels wrong to say I liked it.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I feel like so much of it is like kind of fraught and upsetting. It feels like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Liked doesn't feel like I enjoyed
Appreciated
the experience. Yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely there were parts that I was like, this one makes me want to tear my hair out. Why are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the book actually was that.
Yeah.
But despite that, I think I overall enjoyed the experience.
Okay. I liked it more than I was more into it, I guess. Like, I expected to appreciate it and enjoy it, but just as a story, I was more like, why are they making all these crazy decisions? It
was a lot more engaging than I anticipated.
I can't remember if we talked about this in the podcast or just in our lives, but I tried to read War and Peace. We had this conversation, right?
I think so.
Okay, so just quickly, I was trying to do a chapter a day with my friend Mike, and I couldn't. It was too spread out. Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And so I ended up falling off of that. But yeah, I did sort of speed through Anna Karenina, which I think really helped it because there's a lot of sameness. You know what I mean? We spend a lot of time with, like, Anna and Vronsky are doing this, and Karenin's doing this, and Dolly and Levin are doing this. And it's sort of like that really stretches. So to try to do it as I was with War and Peace, in smaller bites, I think I would have gotten bored quickly.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's hard because it's like there are a number of characters going on and they all feel very relevant.
Yeah.
But like, it's like you're saying, it can be focused on one batch of characters or one character for several chapters and then pop over. And so if you're not reading it relatively quickly, then you have to be like, all right, wait, what is this?
Yeah, because you go through pretty long stretches without seeing.
But something that I was fascinated by is like, it's a fairly long book, but I feel like it didn't feel that long.
Yeah.
And I almost think that it's because of how it's grouped following the different characters. It's almost like the same regular length book, but told through like three different points of view.
I guess I should give you the facts because there's a fact I think that will make that make a little bit more sense to you. So let me hit you with some facts. I'm ready for some facts. Here they are. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy was published in 1878 and was first translated into English by Nathan Haskell Dole in 1887. The majority of the novel was released in installments from 1875 to 1877 in the Russian Messenger. So I think that pertains to what you're saying because it did feel a little like it was parceled out in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was like, if you picture this coming out and you're reading, who knows, these chunks over the course of several years, it's playing a little bit more like a serial, like a soap opera, in modern day would play out.
Man, I feel like that would be so frustrating. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it's always frustrating when it's like, oh no, the season ended on a cliffhanger. Like, we experienced that, but I feel like the idea of reading a book of this like magnitude and depth that spread out, I feel like I'd be going crazy.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I also think that the structure of it makes a lot more sense to me knowing that was how it was being
that's
taken
fair for sure.
originally. You know, and that's not uncommon for that time. But I would think a book of this size, I don't know. I mean, over the course of 2 years, I mean, that's crazy. Like Jack Finney, for example, Invasion of the Body Snatchers came out that way. But that's like, you know, a 200-page book or something. That makes sense to me. But something like this with, you know, the audiobook was like 40 hours.
Oh, my gosh,
you know, days worth of nonstop reading to get to the end of this thing. That's a little, I feel like that would be a little harder to take, but again, maybe that's why the pacing makes sense.
Well, and I do feel like there's not a bunch of like huge status quo changes that you would like forget and be like, or like miss an installment and be like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
I do feel like it's paced and like the information is doled out in a way that I feel like it wouldn't be too hard to completely like fall off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you'd completely lose the thread.
Yeah. So. No, I think that makes sense. So the Dole translation is what I read, and that was the first. But one of the more famous ones, I think, is the Constance Garnett, which is 1901, which that was published in Tolstoy's lifetime, and he was like, yeah, I like that. That's all right. So, you know, that's helpful to have. The Elmer and Louise Maud translation came out in 1918. That was the audiobook that I was doing, so I read a little bit of that. And the Rosalind Bartlett, which came out in 2014, is supposed to be styled as if it were written in English in a modern time. So it is a translation, but it's really with an eye to like making it sound like it was written in 2014. Okay. So I don't know.
I think Rosalind Bartlett is a great name. That sounds like a a book character name.
Yeah,
you know,
tuck it away.
Yeah.
So
it's like, why did you name this book character after Tolstoy?
The story has been adapted into many different mediums, including radio, ballet, opera, theater, television, and film. Have you come across any of these in your life?
No, I know that there's that one with Keira Knightley, which I'm very curious about, but I was like, I don't know. I've been kind of considering that as like once I finish the book, maybe
I was actually planning on reading that or watching that as well.
Because I'm curious about that.
So that came out in 2012. It was adapted by playwright Tom Stoppard and starred Keira Knightley as Anna, Jude Law as Karenina, and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Vronsky. What a career. You know, he's got that, and then he's got, what was that, Craven? You know?
My gosh.
So what range. That film won an Academy Award for costume design.
Nice.
And Tolstoy himself lived from 1828 to 1910. He published 8 full novels, several novellas, many stories, and an assortment of plays, essays, nonfiction. He was quite a writer, you know, just spending a lot of time writing. But of course, best known for Anna Karenina and War and Peace, which I do want to go back and finish.
And see, now that I've read Anna Karenina, I feel like empowered that I could maybe read some more of these like big Russian novels and not be overwhelmed.
Yeah,
I'm like it's within my powers.
Yep, we could do it. We could make it happen. Okay, so going back to our feelings. Give the people just a quick
plot summary for those who have not spent 40 hours reading Anna Karenina.
As we have.
So, man, the story starts out with the Oblonsky family, and it's revealed that the husband has been unfaithful to his wife, and she's really upset. And so he calls in his sister-in-law, Anna Karenina, to try and kind of like talk to his wife. Oh, you're right. Yeah. Yes, it's her sister-in-law, his sister.
Yeah.
To talk to his wife and try and kind of like smooth over this reconciliation. Yeah. Which she succeeds in doing, more or less.
Yeah.
And while she's there, she goes to a ball where the wife, Dolly, her sister, Kitty, is there. And she has kind of these 2 men who are interested in her, Levin and Vronsky. Mm-hmm. And Anna totally knows that, but she still kind of starts this flirtation with Vronsky at the ball, which hard,
with no explanation.
Hard disapprove.
I don't think
with no explanation.
I want to get into that.
But we'll come back to that for sure. And so then Levin proposes to Kitty around this time, and she refuses because she's kind of like, I don't really know. I've still got this thing with Vronsky. That's a maybe. And so he's really sad. He leaves for the countryside, and Anna goes back to her home in Petersburg to try and kind of avoid Vronsky, and also just to go home. And Vronsky totally follows her, and whatever, they start this affair. And I mean, a lot of things happen, but this kind of affair plays out, and it's causing tension, obviously, in her family with her son and her husband. And, her brother and sister-in-law are also kind of like, what's going on? And meanwhile, Kitty is like super heartbroken because both of her marriage prospects have evaporated.
Right.
And so she's sick, and she goes off and whatever, takes sea air and that kind of thing. And eventually Levin comes back, and everyone else convinces him that he should try again. And he proposes, and he and Kitty do end up getting married. And then,
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Well, it's a plot summary.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know how deep to go into the weeds of how things play out. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's the basic idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Anna Karenina.
Okay, so one of the things that really stood out to me, and I think like looking at it from a modern standpoint, is that the character motivations don't really get much, if any, time.
Mm-hmm.
Like why does Anna like Vronsky?
Yeah, that's something.
Why does he like
from
her?
the get-go? I do not.
I
understand
sure.
why he likes her, because the whole book is very much like she's really cool.
Sure.
She's charming. She's beautiful. Everyone thinks she's really cool.
But to the level of like
creepy obsession.
Right. And I think, at this time, like, divorce is just kind of not an option. You know what I mean? Not even, particularly for the women, but even for the men, as you see, like, Karenin later on, he's really trapped in this thing where it's like,
he's like, we can do a divorce, but it's like a huge scandal.
Like, everybody's going to, like, lose face.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, so everybody's a little bit trapped. So Vronsky, of course, knows this. Why he pursues Anna to the level that he does, knowing that, like,
yeah,
it's going to kill his career. She's forever going to be shamed. Like, it's going to ruin Karenin's life. Like, Anna and Karenin's child, which Vronsky never cares about. You know? So I don't really understand why. I don't really understand why Anna doesn't care that this is going to hurt Kitty. Like,
yeah, no, that's so weird to me, because it's like she meets Kitty and they bond, and Kitty's like looking up to her and they're talking, and then it's like first thing she does is she goes to the ball and she just like, all right, yeah, I guess I'm fine with just like, stealing your, which I mean ultimately that works out for the best, because it's stated pretty explicitly early on Vronsky is courting Kitty, but he has no plans to marry her.
Sure.
And she doesn't know that, and neither does anyone, because that's not how that is supposed to work. And so ultimately that kind of saves Kitty from, the problems that Anna ends up going through to some degree.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, that's a crazy thing to do. And, like, the book, I feel like, doesn't show us anything about Vronsky that makes me understand why she's so interested in him.
No.
Like, he's just kind of a guy, and all we know about him is that he's courting women who he should not be courting. Like, that's pretty much, he's into horses.
Yeah.
And he's fine with leading women on, and he's fine with starting an affair.
Right.
And that's pretty much what we know about him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Karenin, her husband, is an interesting character in that he's not always painted in the most flattering light, but I think Tolstoy stops shy of making him a villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think...
No, I find him very sympathetic. In some ways, a lot more sympathetic than Anna.
I agree. Yeah, he is in a position where he could really be a monster and sort of be justified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He could just be like, okay, if you want to torch everything, then fine. Your life's over and so long, But he sort of tries to work with her, accepting that, like, the marriage is over and being like, okay, how do we, So I thought that was kind of a unique place to put him in, to not make him just, the cuckolded, like, vengeful ex, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really... They don't really go to those tropes necessarily, which I think it makes for a compelling character, because you're sort of like, I don't know, like I don't find myself all that sympathetic towards Anna a lot of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so strange too, because it's like I feel like everyone in the book kind of indicates that they have a high opinion of her, right? Like, she's clever, she's charming, she's fun. And there's kind of an implication also of, like, she has some amount of wisdom and she's the person we call in to, like, help reconcile. Right. But then, like, pretty much every choice she makes through the rest of the book seems to contradict all of that information. And so it's like, I don't know, like, I feel bad for her, but I don't super sympathize, like, I don't know, like, not to be harsh, but I feel a little bit like, I mean... You made a lot of choices that you knew you shouldn't have made.
Right.
But I think... I don't know.
But I think choice... I think it's kind of an illusion of choice, because, like, she doesn't really... I think that's sort of baked into her character. Like, she really can't make any choices. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we learn that Levin is significantly older than her. And she sort of, like, kind of had to marry him.
Oh,
like,
Karenin.
Socially. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. Her husband, Karenin, is significantly older than her, and she sort of had to marry him. She didn't really have much choice there.
Yeah.
And then she's just in this loveless marriage, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, people think she's cool, people think she's dazzling, but, like, she could never actually be anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She can be that guy's cool wife, the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, she starts up this thing with Vronsky, even though she knows that'll never work, you know, and it's like, you know, I just feel like she is constantly rebelling against these systems that are oppressing her. And it's like, not even she seems to realize that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think so. But I also feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's kind of an interesting play between her trying to rebel and her kind of just being swept along by what's happening.
True.
Because even with Vronsky, it's like, yeah, she chooses that, but it's very much like he follows her to Petersburg when she's clearly leaving to try and, you know, create a separation.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, she ultimately gives in, but it very much feels like she tried to make a choice not to do this.
Right.
So, I don't know. So I feel like there is an interesting sense in which, like, she's kind of swept along by that, and then it's like she ends up in this situation where it's like she's totally separated from her husband. She's living with Vronsky, and she basically has no, like, rights or social standing to do anything on her own.
Yeah.
She's just totally reliant on him.
Like nothing. Like you don't even go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like don't go see a play, or so you just got to stay in there.
And she's also not married to him, so she doesn't really have any like legal security.
Right.
It's like he can just leave whenever he wants.
Yeah.
And there's nothing she can do about that.
Right. And it hurts his career because everybody sees like basically he's got this like girl on the side kind of thing is how she's treated and how he's treated, you know, because of that. And so it's like it's bad for everyone involved, and yet they pursue it relentlessly.
Yeah. Well, and even, you know, like when she gets sick and Karenina's like, oh, I forgive you. I'm going to try and like, you know, support you, even though I know our marriage can never be the same. Like you're, you know,
and I feel
I'm
like
never going to kick you out.
That is one of the few examples of warmth in this book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I think that's unusual
also. Yeah.
You know,
and then it's like, she's kind of like, yeah, okay, like we're, you know, whatever, like I'll stay here and try and, you know, fix things and take care of my son and everything. And then it's like, whatever, her friend convinces her to let Vronsky come and visit her, and it's like, that's it. Yeah. Like she's just going off with him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even in the very beginning where Karenina first finds out, he's just kind of like, okay, I accept that this is over. I accept that you're not going to be a wife to me, that you're not going to be faithful. But like, at this point, we have to remain business partners.
Yeah.
And all he really asks of her is like, don't get caught. Like, don't bring your lover over to our house and don't get caught. And she's like, I'm just going to bring him over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing he asked of her. And she, you know.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's kind of about all of these people being like trapped in this society that doesn't allow for, you know, individuality or expression. It's just like, this is the slot that you are allowed to fit in. So, you know, do it or die. And that's pretty much, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It is really fascinating to me also because it's like it's so much implied, and even I feel like at times explicitly stated that it's like a lot of people are having affairs.
Yeah.
You know, like we start out the book with like Oblonsky has a girl on the side and his wife found out and she's super upset about it. And he's kind of like, oh, I thought she knew and didn't care.
Right.
Which like, oof.
Yeah.
But, and then it's like lots of the other characters kind of from Anna and Karenina's Petersburg set, it's like stated that they kind of have this going on. And there's even a point late in the book where she and Vronsky are back in town and she like reaches out to her friend, or he goes to visit her and is like, oh, can I bring Anna? And she's like, yeah, of course, you know, you guys finalize, you know, whatever, the divorce is finalized, you're getting married, bring her. And they're like, oh no, we haven't done that. And she's like, well, then so like you can't.
No, then pass.
And she's like, but like, girl, like you're having an affair. You're just, I guess you're just keeping it a secret better.
Well, I think they broke the social taboo because like, it's one thing to have an affair and everybody pretends like they don't know it.
Right.
But like,
it's another thing to be like, I'm just going to leave my
to be
husband,
like, we're not
go
gonna,
to the countryside.
Right. Exactly. That just stating it outright is like, oh, well, then that's a deal breaker and there's nothing we can do. You know what I mean? It's like nobody thinks like, well, yeah, this sucks. We'll make an exception, or there's nothing. It's just like, no, it's black and white. You've broken this social norm and that's it. You're over. I think without Levin, this would be, I mean, it is a bleak ass book, but without Levin,
it would be unbearable. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But no, I feel like Levin and Kitty definitely make it feel like it's worthwhile to keep reading the book.
Right. And it shows a little bit of, because Levin's kind of struggling with, his whole thing is that, like, oh, you know, he's a farmer. He's not a social, you know what I mean? He's not like in society. He's like outside of all that. And he struggles with that. And that's, I think, why Kitty is sort of like, yeah, forget it, farmer boy. Like, this isn't going to happen in the early thing.
Yeah. And Vronsky is dashing. I feel like that's the other thing. Is she's kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
At least we assume he's dashing.
And I think socially, Kitty being married to Vronsky would open up all these new avenues for her.
Right.
Whereas being married to Levin would open up all these barns for her. And
right.
she's not about that life in the beginning. So I think their path, I think that's really well structured. And that's one of the things that felt very modern to me about this book, was that, like, we have the initial thing with the two of them. It's clear they should probably be together. And then, boom, not going to happen. And then we take this long, circuitous route to, like, get back to that point. And it feels very satisfying.
Satisfying.
Because you kind of... Because I went into this really blind. Like, I guess I sort of knew the famous thing about this, like Anna and her ultimate fate.
Right.
But I don't know anything else, like nothing else.
Right.
And so I didn't know these characters. I didn't know what to expect. And so I sort of accepted that was not, like, that they just kind of missed their window and that was it. So the fact that it was this long journey back to it, I felt like was a really redeeming arc in an otherwise, downer
pretty bleak
of a book.
And I feel like part of what was so satisfying is that it's like, it feels like by the time they get back to each other, they're more equipped to be together than they would have been the first time. Like, she's had some character growth, he's had some character growth, and it feels like it probably is going to work better than maybe it would have if she just said yes the first time.
Yeah, I think
so. Asked her.
I think so. Because it's not that they're settling. It's not that she's kind of like, well, forget it. I guess I'll just go with this dude. You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's definitely been like a maturity.
They grow separately in a way that makes them a better match, which I think is cool.
Yeah. And I think that they're a really fascinating counterpoint to Anna and Vronsky, and kind of Anna and Karenina, that, like, both of those relationships, both Anna and Karenina and Anna Vronsky, are, like, mostly unhappy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's times in the book where she and Vronsky are like, whatever, they're off in Italy or somewhere, and they're like, yeah, we're having fun, we're so in love, this is great. But it's like, even then there's kind of this undercurrent of, like, we're a little bored and things could really break down at any time. But most of the time, really, she's unhappy. She's miserable. She's stuck inside. She's stressed that he's going to leave her. And I think it's so interesting because it's like Kitty and Levin is kind of the opposite, that, like, it's not that they don't argue or have issues, because they do multiple times, but it's like overall they're happy and then they have these issues to sort out. So it's, I don't know, it's a really fascinating, almost like inverse arc of Anna and Vronsky.
Yeah.
Which I also, again, am glad of, just because it makes the book less sad.
Yeah, no. But it makes the structure compelling. And something that you touched upon in your synopsis there was about how we start with Oblonsky, Anna's brother, and you spend a long time with him.
A long time. Like, I'm like, isn't this book Anna Karenina?
Right.
Where's Anna Karenina?
Yeah, she doesn't show up for a while. And the way that the book keeps passing off, like, who you're following. Like, the circuitous route we get to following Levin is interesting. And then, like, you have the thing with his two brothers, and you're following, like, Levin's brother for a while. It's very unique to spend that much time with characters who ultimately, a lot of them really aren't that crucial. But you spend a lot of time with them and you know them. And so it makes the book full, and it makes the relationships work. Whereas, like, if you were trying to keep in your mind that Vronsky was originally sort of paired with Anna's brother's wife's sister, like, that's confusing.
Right.
There's no way, but the way that you get there, where you're following this, then you're following this, and you're following this, and you're sort of seeing those connections come naturally rather than just, like, being told them, I also think works really well, especially for a book that's this long, where you have to be invested in all of these characters for a long time. To give each of them their own little featured moment early on, before you've even started the plot, is, I think, a pretty big swing.
Yeah.
And it pays off. So
absolutely,
that's cool.
I think the extent to which they're unmeshed, like you're saying, I mean, like, it's confusing to be like, yeah, Vronsky was with, whatever, Anna's brother's wife's sister. Like, that's confusing, but it feels natural in the book when you're reading it, because you're not just reciting the connections, you're seeing them.
Right.
And so it's like everyone is kind of entwined, of, like, Oblonsky's really good friends with Levin, but he's also pretty good friends with Vronsky, and then, like, Anna's his sister, and, like, yeah, I feel like that kind of creates this little like circle of like how the characters are all intertwined that makes the contrast between the different characters and their arcs and everything feel very purposeful, because it's not just like, oh yeah, and over there a random couple. It's like, no, this is all kind of in this same little area of people.
I also really enjoy the shades of gray in this book, because I don't think that there's anybody who you can say this is an outright villain or this is an outright hero. You know what I mean? It's like, I think Levin maybe comes closest to being like just outright a nice dude. You know what I mean? But for the most part, Oblonsky I think is a great example, because he loves Anna. He cares for her. He doesn't want her to be unhappy. He's not really going to do anything about it.
No,
but like
he tries, but he's so ineffectual.
He tries in his own way, but like, you know, he's not really somebody to be looking up to or anything like that.
And like, you know, his relationship with his wife isn't great, and he tries to patch it over and like is like, oh yeah, go to the country, I'll make sure everything in the house is ready, and then like totally fails at making sure everything in the house is ready.
But he means it when he says it.
He says it.
So I mean, again, he's not just like this dumb one-dimensional kind of character, and yet he is kind of adult who is ineffectual and not great at being a husband, father, or sibling.
Yeah.
And yet you do sort of like him.
You do sort of like, he's so fascinating to me, because it's like, the first thing we learn about him is he's cheated on his wife, and he's mostly only sorry that she found out.
Right.
And then it's like,
I also believe that he thought that she'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I also believe that. Like, so, he you know, not the most self-aware, but he really believes what he believes.
Right.
But it's like, you know, so it's like that happens and they reconcile, and he's like, yeah, like whatever, I might not, you know, be that like into you anymore, but like you're still important to me, you're still my wife and everything. And that's kind of sweet. But then it's like, you know, we like, I don't know, 15 chapters later, and he's chatting with Levin, and he's like, yeah, I got a new girl. Yeah. And Levin's like, dude, what are gives?
Set everything off. Okay.
But it's like, he's such a problem, but every time he shows up, because he keeps just like popping up, you know, whether we're following Anna and Vronsky or Karenin or Levin, Oblonsky just keeps popping up all over the place. And every time he pops up, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy. And then I'm like, wait, shouldn't I not like him actually?
But I know, but it works. Yeah, that's what's so crazy about it. I think Anna's relationship with her children is also worth exploring a little bit, because I think it's sort of atypical to have her be kind of a crap mother. You know what I mean? Like,
she wants to be a good mother.
Does she though? I mean, not enough to change her choices.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and when she and Vronsky ultimately have a child together, she
doesn't really care.
She's like, whatever.
She's like, yeah, I guess I have.
She cares more about her son with Levin. Karenin. Jeez, she cares more about her son with Karenin, but not enough to choose him over Vronsky.
No. Well, and it's like when she's initially like leaving Moscow, trying to flee Vronsky, going back to Petersburg, it's like her son is like the thing she's thinking about. She's like, I need to see my son. I'm going to be a good mom to him. I'm not going to get involved with this whole thing, mostly because of him. Like and I feel like kind of the implication is like at that point in her life, her son is like the only thing in her world that she really cares about. She doesn't really care about her husband. She doesn't, you know, she likes her society friends, but she doesn't really care about that much. And so then I guess it kind of seems like when Vronsky comes around, it's like there's something for her to care about more.
Right.
And she definitely is torn at times. Like, she'll be like, oh no, you know, like I should leave you. I should go back to my son. I can't believe. But then she never quite does it.
No.
And
which again, I think it sort of speaks to her weakness, you know, because she, I do believe that she cares, but again, not enough to make different choices. It reminds me of, have you seen or read Ibsen's Dollhouse? Do you know that? Okay. Well, in that, the character, she is progressively like more fed up with the constraints like of her life, and that ends with her walking away from her child and her husband and just being like, you know what, I got to figure me out. You guys are on your own. And it's kind of I mean, it's shocking for the time. It's like, she's a woman, she can't leave her husband and her child. Who's going to take care of that kid? His father? Ridiculous. But it's still sort of seen as like kind of a bold thing that she's doing, and it's sort of like commendable in its way. Whereas I think in this, it's not commendable at all. When Anna walks away from her. It's like there's no justification for it.
No.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's an interesting parallel to me, to see sort of similar things happening. But in the Dollhouse, it's kind of earned and you understand it. And in Anna Karenina, it's just like, girl, come on.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because like I could see a real sort of like feminist way of this playing out, where she's like, I didn't really want to marry you. My life is just about taking care of this family, and I want to go do something else and be liberated. But it doesn't feel like that at all, because it just feels like, I just want to be with Vronsky, and like, like it doesn't feel like she's in some way like choosing to have a more full life or a more complex life, or to be free of her society's constraints or anything. It feels like she's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't even really understand it, honestly.
Yeah, no, I don't either. But I think like ultimately the book, if you look at the feminist angle of the book, maybe what it's ultimately saying is, well, if you wanted to be happy, you shouldn't have been born a woman in Russia in the 1800s. What were you thinking? I think that's ultimately, she is trapped no matter what she does, and she can just decide a little bit. She has some input in what the cage looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah, I would say the same for sure.
Are you familiar with there's a book and then a movie called Shop Girl. It's written by Steve Martin. Have you ever come across? I feel like we've talked about another one of his books, The Pleasure of My Company. I think we've.
I don't think so. You say Shop Girl, and the only thing I can think is like,
You've
Meg
Got
Ryan,
Mail.
You've Got Mail, Shop
it's
Girl.
Not that.
So I'm like, that feels familiar, but that's the only reason why. So I don't think I'm actually familiar with this.
Well, having read this book and thinking about that movie, I feel like that movie is like sort of a modern take on the Levin-Kitty relationship, because it starts with that main character sort of loving and idealizing this sort of rich, charming, dashing man, and the alternative to that in the movie is played by Jason Schwartzman, and he's just kind of a schlubby guy that she likes, but he's just not like in the league that she wants to be. And that follows a similar trajectory where they sort of ultimately find each other. And I feel like that had to be. It's just too close not to be at least partially inspired by that. I need to go track that down and see if that was true. But yeah, if you've never read Steve Martin's novels, they're weirdly good.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting fact.
So I think it's 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. I think so too.
I would have liked a little bit more justification, I think, for some character choices throughout. And there were times when I was definitely like, yeah, I get it. This has all been established.
Well, there was definitely some periods where it's like, and here's a bunch about Levin and his buddies hunting. And I was like, do we really have to do that for like 4 or 5 chapters?
Yeah.
Just, it's not bad. But like, just curious.
No, I agree. And I think that there were several places like that where I'm like, what was this little cul-de-sac even about? But it does make more sense when you're thinking that probably would have been a standalone feature in that magazine.
And I do feel like all of those develop the characters. Some of them I'm like,
They do.
We could have been okay without that character development. It's nice to, see it, but definitely I feel like some of that, the serialized style makes sense.
Yeah, there are places where it's like, if you didn't have that section, you could still be like, yeah, of course he would feel that way. That makes sense, given everything we know about the character. But some of those serve to be like, and this is really why he feels that way. And it's like, yeah, we got it.
I guess I kind of wonder if some of the lack of character motivation and explanation, particularly of Anna and Vronsky, I kind of wonder if that's intentional.
Oh yeah,
because it's like, it's the extent to which it's like we are not shown any reason why they're doing this, why they're into each other, especially why she's into him. We're like nothing. There's nothing really that we're shown. We are only shown what actually like happens, not kind of what they're thinking about it. And I guess I feel like I wonder if it's kind of an intentional choice to be like, hey, we're not getting into the like whether she should have or why she did, or we're just kind of like saying, hey, this is what's happening and we're looking at how it's going to play out.
Right.
I guess I have to assume because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you don't need it. I mean, you really, like we were saying with the other stuff, you really don't need to know. It's enough to know that like she is trapped in this marriage and this guy excites her, and like that's so you don't really need it. And I think it would maybe bog it down because it's not this is not a romance story.
No,
it's not about their romance.
No. And I feel like in some ways, because like I've definitely read books, I've seen movies where there's kind of like an affair or like a considered affair where like the story really shows you like here's why this person feels this way and kind of makes you root for it. You know what I mean? And this really didn't do that. And I feel like that's good because, I don't know, like the way it plays out, it's like, no, like this isn't something that we should be rooting for. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought that was a really interesting choice given how much more it does show about like Kitty and Levin and like how they're
Right.
falling in love.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it just makes it more about the ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like we're careening, as all the characters are, towards this somewhat inevitable bleak ending, and it's like we're putting the pieces in place to get there, and in retrospect the ending is justified by the things that came forward, and it's like it's not really about building the steps as you go. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Do you know
it's
what I
not
mean?
how we
It's like-
started, it's where we're going.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you just feel like all the characters are on this conveyor belt, and it's like it's only going one place, and so
Yeah.
you have the pieces that you need.
Man, it's so bleak though, because there are several times when you feel like it could stop or it could go a different way.
Yeah.
Again, like Karenina being like, "It's fine, I forgive you, just whatever, I'll take
Yeah.
care of you," and her being like, "Okay, but actually, nah."
Right.
And like the number of times that everyone is trying to convince her, like, divorce your husband, and then you and Vronsky can at least
Right.
get married and
Right.
have a little less social stigma.
That's another thing about like the march of like the inevitability of this end is like it's not like there weren't exit ramps.
No,
You know
there
what I
totally
mean? Like,
so many
like all of
many
these
exit
characters
ramps.
at one point or another had this thing where it's like, oh, just do that, and then
Yeah.
but they don't
But they
because it's
don't
like
do it.
pathological. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've started this.
Oh man! Again, like I said earlier about like the moments that just make me want to tear my hair out.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
I know. Yep. Well, I think this was the Magic Cup served us well because
think
this was
so,
a good
too.
pick, and I don't know that I ever actually would have read it.
I certainly would have wanted to. I don't know if I
would have maintained the like one of these days.
Yes,
But
exactly.
and you're right. It does feel a little bit like Hearts Have Fallen. Now it's like okay, now we can read this kind of thing
Exactly.
more often. So
The world is our oyster.
maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
But not next time because I know that you like Anna Karenina. But have you watched the series Scrubs?
I have not.
That's a fun pivot, right?
That is a fun
Anna
pivot.
Karenina to Scrubs. So Scrubs was like the show of my college years, I guess. And my wife and I recently have been rediscovering it. And actually, they're about to reboot it, which I'm not in favor of, but it's happening anyway. But I've been watching this thinking like, this is probably a time when you would not have been paying attention. And I don't know that it's a show that is like in the constant rotation like something like Friends or The Office or something like that. But I think its aesthetics will appeal to you. I think you'll enjoy it. So I would just say it's not the kind of show where it's like, well, you really have to get to season 3 before it's good. I think it is what it is basically from the go. So I think just start with the first episode and get as far as you feel that you're able to get.
All right.
And we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
But in 2 weeks, we'll reconvene to talk about the things that we are reading and watching and doing, and we won't be encumbered by trying to finish Anna Karenina.
I know.
So,
Well,
many
we better
options.
read and watch a lot of things in the next 2 weeks because I feel like the last 2 weeks it's been Anna Karenina all the time.
Yeah,
So.
yep, all Anna Karenina all the time, for sure. Okay, well, thanks for reading along with us, if anybody did. And if you didn't, I recommend Anna Karenina.
Yeah, absolutely.
By Leo Tolstoy. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.